I thought that for choreography to be good, it had to be fast. That's what I thought, and I had to unlearn that so quickly.
When I choreograph and when I improvise, it's contemporary. It's like how my mind works. It's usually a bit slower. It's using the floor, moving in and out. However, for the audition and in lots of our classes, it's like commercial or jazz. And we're like, now you've got like 4/8 to improvise and add your own thing on. And it's like, with the music that's playing and the improv that I'm used to, they don't match up. And so now I'm having to like give so much face and character, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Because I'd seen his choreography and I thought, that is something I've never seen before. The way he'll move his hand and not move her leg.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so interesting. The movement needs to look pretty and flows. Other choreographers are like, no, technique. And other ones are like, I'm just trying to tell a story. Like, this is my idea. Yeah,
you've had 20 years of experience. However, you could get 20 different minds. Hello everyone and welcome to the Movement Theories podcast. We are in yet again a new set. This is the student accommodation for Bird College. We've moved out of the previous video set because coronavirus has had an outbreak, which isn't good. And so we didn't want to infect our lovely guests here today, Ellie Beck-Martin, who is a ex-PPFY student, so was on the foundation course, a current Bird student first year, and has a lot to say. Has quite a cool background.
Oh, thank you.
It's from Dubai.
Yeah, long way.
Which is very fancy and cool. And so we're going to be talking about choreography and some of her previous experiences and just talk about the industry, which is probably why you're listening today. So yeah, my name's Josh and welcome to the Movement Theories podcast. So proud of myself. We have an in-studio audience now, which is the most exciting.
You've upped your game. You've upped your game, honestly.
I know, this is crazy. I actually want to keep my recordings here because this is just so much nicer than back in my flat.
I mean, I don't mind you coming here, but
well, I've got storage room. Cameraman number 3 has said that I can store some things. I don't know long term. I need to find somewhere.
You might as well just move in. Honestly, the amount of stuff that it takes to get in here.
Yeah. So yeah, it's a good idea. Let me introduce you a little bit more.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah, you can do that.
Or do you want to introduce yourself, actually? Because I feel like you know more about yourself than I know about you.
What do you want to know?
I want to know more about Dubai. So the area you're from and what opportunities Dubai had for performing arts.
Okay. So, hi, I'm Ellie Beck-Martin, or Ellie B, as a lot of people call me. So yes, I grew up in Dubai. So Dubai is super, super cool. Because it's kind of like if you imagine LA and London just smack together, like hot climate, but also super, super busy.
Never been to LA, but I can tell you the London part.
Well, I've never been to LA, but from what I've seen on
what you've heard,
the internet, because the internet's a wonderful thing.
Of course, yes.
Performing arts-wise, like I was a lot younger when I was there. Obviously, I've just moved to London, so I don't really know what it's like as a fully fledged working professional.
Oh yeah, professional scene.
So
the amateur, which is what most of our listeners are probably experiencing. I did look at my audience demographic and it was like 18 to 34, like a big chunk. Yeah. Which is quite old. Maybe some directors out there could be listening.
Who knows? Honestly,
choreographers could be listening.
Knows?
You never know. But as an amateur, what was it like?
So I did all of my performing arts training before I came here for PPFY. In Dubai,
which is cool.
So in Dubai, there's a couple of really big performing arts schools. A lot of them actually have links to schools over here.
Nice.
So like Performers, Erdang, Arts.
Okay, yeah.
Different ones.
All the big names.
Yeah, all the big ones. But the thing that I found was that I love Dubai with all my heart, but there wasn't a lot of like in London, you have like the West End shows, or New York, you have Broadway. Like Dubai, you get touring companies. They might come twice, maybe 3 times a year of like West End shows. And then you get things like ballet and like local shows. But for musical theatre and the stuff I wanted to see, it was like quite rare. It's like they've got more coming in currently. But when I was there, it was like I maybe got to see like a show once, twice a year.
That's rough.
So, yeah.
You've done work at the Dubai Opera House. They seem to be quite like an advocate for young people performing.
Yeah, they really are.
Yeah.
Dubai Opera is incredible. It's huge though, I won't lie. Like backstage, the amount of times I've gotten lost is ridiculous.
Yeah.
Why are you giggling?
Our in-house audience.
Why are you giggling? What are you giggling at?
No, I in the bid, and so you went.
It's weird being in like a studio space like this. As soon as the lighting,
our very grand studio,
studio with holes on the wall. But as soon as like the lighting arrived, it made a huge difference to how everything feels. I might do an episode in the future about creating a podcast like this, and like how I run it and being 18 and how it works alongside being a bird and stuff. But that'll be in the future, as well as some other little cool episodes that are coming up, which not as cool as this though. This is, I mean, the Ellie Martin special.
I know, right? I'm that special.
Yeah.
No, I'm not.
Anything else kind of to do with that you think's quite important to say? Maybe quite impactful.
Well, I mean, I just think it was just so cool because growing up in Dubai, I've got such a mix of different cultures as well. So you've got people from all over the world. So I know, like, at my performing arts school, there was, like, people just from everywhere. So you hear about performing arts from all different places. And in my normal school as well, like, one of my best friends who was, like, we were, like, joined at the hip. It was so funny because obviously I was off doing jazz and ballet. But then she was really into, like, traditional, like, Indian dancing and things like that. So we'd sit and we'd, like, swap and share. Like, oh, I do this. Oh, that's so weird, but I do this. And so that was just really cool.
Yeah, that is good. I like the whole like sharing different styles and like ideas with people. I mean, even in choreography is such an integral part. Were there any of these initial shows that you watched, the ones that came once or twice a year, that like really stood out to you and made you think, wow, I want to do this. Like, I want that to be me touring around, going to these different places. Was there a particular show, or was it all of them, or was there one that stood out?
Because I was training so hard, because I would have school from like 8 till 2:30 and then go straight into performing arts. Oh, sorry, Mike.
That's all right.
From like 2:30 till like 8 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So, and then I would be training there every day on Saturday. I'd be there from like 8 till 8. It was like performing arts hours here. So I didn't always have time to go out and see the shows, but the few that I did, the first one I saw was Les Mis. Oh. And that was just, oh my God, incredible. Plus, when it toured, it was Carrie Hope Fletcher who was in it. And I'd followed her.
She makes an appearance in every episode. Because Kaitlin is obsessed with her. And when we were doing the ones back home, every episode, Carrie Hope Fletcher would be mentioned. So it's crazy to me that tradition has carried on. Welcome, Noah. How are you doing?
Welcome, hi.
Noah's just entered.
How many people live in the flat, the apartment? How many are?
6.
This is literally it, plus the guards.
Yeah. So we've taken over the kitchen of a group of 6. So we can't expect there to be. Do you want to come sit down and say hi?
Yeah.
Come into a camera shot.
You're not on the camera. Get down there.
You've got to
Go, come right down.
You've got to get low.
This is Noah.
This is the legend that is Noah Shepherd.
Interesting fact about Noah.
Scratch that.
Noah was the only. Maybe we should have given Noah some previous warning to what was happening today.
Snap group, Noah. What? I said read the Snap group. I warned you.
Oh, not looking on Snapchat.
Oh goodness.
It's a mistake we all make. This little project that we have going on here.
You know, this massive setup that we've currently
this big
got in
scale.
Our kitchen.
What is Diver CEO like? What £40,000 setup?
I know.
Camera 1 over there. Camera here.
2,
camera
3.
there. We've got a camera up there.
Honestly,
they actually do. Like they have so many.
Really?
I'd love to get to a place in my life on YouTube where I'm creating content at the
level.
scale that they're doing. And I think in the next 10 years, more low-key YouTube stuff will start to grow to that level. Because if you think like the beginning of YouTube, this
literally people like on computers in bedrooms.
Yeah.
It was literally like
this is crazy.
I like making slime or something. Or I do makeup or
like 10 years ago this would be quite a lot, and now it's like what you need.
This is your average. Not saying this is average because this is a lot right now.
Thank you very much. Any shows apart from Les Mis then that are like when you are playing drama games and they're like, what's your favourite show? What would you want to be in?
Oh, yeah.
What are those? Kind of give me those answers.
I could talk about West End shows for hours on end. But
I'll give you 5 minutes.
All right. That's pushing it. So obviously I saw the couple in Dubai. I saw Les Mis. I remember seeing Mary Poppins, which is quite cool.
I haven't seen that on West End or like touring.
Incredible. Because then any other shows that were at Dubai Opera, I was in production. I was in the productions there. Mm-hmm. So I spent more time being in shows and watching them. So when I came for my auditions, that was my first time coming to London. So I remember I saw Back to the Future, and that that holds a really special place in my heart.
Yeah.
Because that was the first time I saw a West End show.
Yeah.
I just remember being so excited. And then from then on, I went on to see Hamilton. But I was the person who, when the Hamilton film came out, like I'd never seen it, but I know it back to front, inside out.
Before it came out, like
yeah.
the film. Yeah, because I hadn't like heard of Hamilton before I watched it, and this was about 2 years ago when I started.
Where were you living? Under a rock, honestly.
Well, I wasn't like in the musical theatre space over 2 years, like 2 years plus. So it was one of the first ones that my group of friends at the time, still friends of them, but like we've gone our separate ways.
Yeah.
And they put Hamilton on, and I was like on Disney Plus. I was shocked.
Amazing,
it was
right?
incredible.
So good.
And I think because my understanding of musical theatre was like more legit. I mean, I hadn't
like actor singery.
Yeah, there wasn't much contemporary stuff I was aware of, and I was like, wow, these guys are rapping.
It's so cool.
This is cool. Yeah, and so that one, Hamilton, has stood up to me, and I do want to go watch it. Unfortunately, we're not as lucky as your flatmates, and I didn't win £10 front row tickets to watch it next weekend, which I'm quite sad about because that is super cool, and I'm very jealous. But I'm going to start entering the lottery thing that they did.
Today picks, get on that.
So this episode is kind of centers around choreography a little bit, and so I think we'll kind of start going into that segment of what we're talking about. What initially stood out about choreography to you? What was like, oh, I like that, and what made you think I want to do that myself?
Yeah.
Were there particular moments when you were training that you thought, this is actually really cool and I can do it?
Yeah. I mean, my training, I started off as a dancer.
Mm-hmm.
So I started off as like your ISTD born and bred kid. Like I was in all the modern classes, in all the tap, all of that. And then my teacher kind of suggested, oh my goodness. Right.
The 4 beers. So yeah, talking about choreography.
Yes.
Talking about choreography. And so you said that you were a dancer first.
Yeah.
That was like your initial ISTD. Quick thing about what ISTD is for people who don't know about it. Like for me, I didn't come up through that route. I just came up through like the GCSE A-level dance.
Yeah.
That was my foundation. So what is ISTD as like a quick?
So ISTD, I'm gonna have to Google what it stands for. See,
Society of Teachers of Dance.
there we go.
Wow.
I should remember that though. It says at the beginning, it's the Imperial Society of Teachers of Dance, grade 4. Like, that's the thing. Okay, so just for some context, so ISTD, as I said, Imperial Society of Teachers of Dance, and it's an exam board where quite a lot of people squash.
Yeah, no, I've actually studio audience. Could I get a refill?
Of a squash.
Oh, the tap world champion's coming to.
Yeah, this is Ronald.
Fill my squash
She's
up.
a tap world champion. If you didn't know.
Thank you very much.
Get much lower down to your face and that.
I'm so demanding.
Squash, please, for B. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. So yeah, ISTD is...
It's basically, it's a set of exams you can take. A lot of people take them when they're younger. So it's grades, I believe, 1 through 6. And then you can do something called vocational, which basically, so touch the mic, which basically means then you do your like intermediates and advanced. And when you get to those levels, you get something called UCAS points. And for those of you who don't know, when you go to university, you have something called UCAS points. So like your grades in your A-levels and anything else you might do. If you play a musical instrument, your grades from that as well give you UCAS points and allow you to get into better universities because different universities have different thresholds.
So like the top universities that everyone like competes over have like a very high UCAS threshold. And so the higher the grade you get, I think like an A star is like 56.
Yeah.
So say you're doing 3 A levels and you get 3 A stars, you'd be on like 100 and 6, 12, 18, 68. And so if their boundary is like 150 plus, you're looking to try and get A star, A star 8 or something like that. But if you play musical instruments, you can get extra ones to help.
And it's the same with other exams like Trinity, Lambda, but they're a whole other. There's so many like different exam type boards that you can do
of course,
growing up in performing arts. But I did RAD, which is the Royal Academy of Dance, for my ballet, and then I did ISTD for tap and modern.
Was there a choreographic element in that, or was it more you're taught routines that then you like have to perform perfectly with the proper technique, and it's like
Yeah.
exact.
So as you go through your grade, you have set exercises for, basically you'll have like a foot warm up or a warm up, and then you'll have like a limbering or, oh goodness.
You guys are right.
And those are all set. So do you want me to pause?
Just for a second, thank you very
For a
much.
moment.
I like having an in-house audience. This is great.
Just because you get your drinks made for you.
I know. They get their. I was wondering. I was like, why is this so stressful? This is like. How do you make squash? Oh man. Spent her whole life just studying tap,
Honestly, she can
like
tap, but she
10
can't
hours
make
a day, just ignored all the basics. Let's see if it's too strong or if it's too weak.
Oh, here we go.
Sorry, I did. Too strong?
It's okay.
It's only okay.
No, it's fine. Anyway, so yeah, was there a choreographic element or was it very exact? Because I came up through like a GCSE route and like an A-level route, and in that 4-hour exams for each one, GCSEs and A-levels, like a big portion of your final marks come from how well you can choreograph for like a group of people.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's something you've done as well.
Well, I mean, ISTD is very set, because when you have examiners come, you have an examiner come and watch you and like mark you in real time, or when it came down to COVID, we did it online. So they're looking for very specific things to mark you on. So it's all very much set. You do have like an unset dance that often a teacher will choreograph for you. And sometimes you can put your own kind of flair on it.
Maybe for you, having been taught this very strict way, being able to choreograph was like a nice freedom, like a nice break away from that, because it's like you've got this, like you're only a good dancer if you can exactly do things this way.
Yeah.
And actually, maybe, I don't know, correct me, tell me about it, starting to choreograph stuff for yourself.
I've got something.
Starting to choreograph for yourself kind of gave you a little bit more of like a, no, this is nice, like a nice break.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was really lucky with my training, because I had that like part of it all to get my grades and have, you know, the technique and all of that. But then I also did a double BTEC in performing arts, and I also had like I said, my like Saturday classes in my company kind of training, my youth theatre. And in that, there was actually, how I got into choreographing was that I had a teacher. Oh, hello.
Who's got music playing?
Where is that coming from?
This is fun.
Is it downstairs?
It is.
Or is it someone passing by? Should we shut the window? Ladies and gentlemen, the joys of student living.
Student accommodation. This is lovely.
It's definitely coming from downstairs. Because saying that doesn't sound like a song.
Is this water? Can I borrow some?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Video was that bad?
just don't pour it on the mic.
No.
That's so full. You've got to do the thing where you like sip it like.
See, it's not funny. Don't do that. There you go.
Don't do that.
Break the window handle.
Oh, that's actually so much better now.
Okay, you're welcome.
You know when you get like a really ripe orange and you bite into it and it's like, ooh.
Yeah.
It was that with every sip.
I'm so sorry. What was that sound?
This was my biting into a sour orange face. Everyone's got their own biting into a sour orange face.
Bitter.
Bitter. Yes, there we go.
Tell us in the
good.
comments. Do you have?
We don't get
that?
comments, not on
You
this.
should.
But you should be commenting.
should ask.
And actually, this is a perfect time to tell you to subscribe if you haven't already. We get like, our percentages are like 90% of listening aren't and 10% are. So we need to change that around. Road to 1,000, which is a bit of a leap. It's really strange seeing like the studio like pointing like this.
They're laughing at me because I've watched your podcast since before I met you.
Yeah,
So this
big
is
time
really,
fan here.
This is really weird for me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like seeing you with a mic in front of you, and it's like,
Yeah,
oh
well,
my God.
it's happening. Also, another important thing to say, as well as subscribing. Yeah, as well
we
as
gave
subscribing.
you the look then.
As well as subscribing. If any of you watching are interested in this and think you have a story to share, have some interesting things about the industry, performing arts, we need guests. We've got a shortage of guests because weirdly at Bird College, everyone's camera shy. Now, what's this about?
I don't think it's a case of everyone's camera shy. I think it's a case of everybody's so busy because your days are like 8 till 8, and then you.
Well, the excuses I get is that everyone's camera shy. So
just don't want to be
we got to get a little lineup of guests going on. So that would be cool if you're interested. Send us a message. Our Instagram is in the description or whatever.
Wherever it is.
Back to the episode.
What were we talking about before that whole tangent?
Yeah, no, it was a long tangent. I want to just kind of jump ahead a little bit.
Okay, I was telling you how I got into choreography, but it's okay.
It was going to be to that. What was your first steps in choreographing and early influences?
Okay, so I always liked choreographing. It's something that I'd always kind of done. Like whenever there was a song, I'd be like, oh, I'll make up a little dance to it. Or in primary school where you do talent shows, I'd be like, yes. I'm gonna make up a dance.
Create your own little thing.
Yeah. But then it was when I got to lockdown and we were all stuck inside, and I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. That I started watching a lot of dance videos online. So I'd watch a lot of things like World of Dance.
Just ignore them.
Strange things are currently happening behind that camera.
No idea what's going on.
So I'd watch a lot of things like World of Dance.
World of Dance is cool. Yeah, I've seen a few little bits.
Yeah, I then came across choreographers, if I could speak English. It's been a long day.
It has, yeah. A long week. We're on Friday. Yeah, we're on Friday, and it's 10-hour days, Monday to Friday, which is a lot.
It's a lot.
My body hasn't adjusted.
It's worth it.
Just yet. Yeah, no, in the long run, it will be worth it. Give me a couple months, and I think I'll be able to catch up and be like, this is fine. But at the moment, it comes to the weekend, and everyone's like, let's go out, and I'm like, I want to go to bed. I'm going to
bed.
Yeah, it's the best thing. Sorry, what were you saying earlier? Sean Liu, is he in there?
Yeah, I know you've already spoken about him on the podcast.
Yeah, so we had an episode about Sean Liu, and a little fact about that episode was I stated that he kind of became successful through World of Dance, which to me, personally, as an international to America, is true. World of Dance is what made me go, oh, Sean Liu, he's really cool. I like the work he's doing. And then I got roasted in the comments saying he was way famous before that. Yeah. And to Americans, his dance videos was a big thing. And I was like,
I can tell you where he was famous because I'm a bit of a Sean Liu.
Well, he is a very well-known choreographer, very successful. His work is everywhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, please do.
He did a lot of stuff as a child as well. So he was mainly famous, from what I know anyways, I could be wrong, but from what I know before World of Dance, he was really well known in places like dance studios, like playgrounds, LA, and those kind of those videos that get put on.
The way it will work is I will say, oh, World of Dance made him famous, and then people go, no, he was famous before that. You'll go, he was famous before that doing these things, and then a group of people will go, well, I knew him before that. No, and there's just always going to be. Yeah. So however you knew him is how he became known to you, and that's what's important.
Yeah, because once I saw him on World of Dance, because I'd seen his choreography and Casey Ricey, I'd seen them together, and I thought, that is something I've never seen before. Because it was my first time seeing this kind of choreography that kind of blended together and kind of had a flow to it. Not that I've never seen choreography like that before, but the way he does it in the way he'll move his hand and he'll move her leg.
Yeah.
I just thought it was so interesting.
Has that influenced you? Is there a direct link?
I started choreographing in lockdown because I wanted to be able to do classes like his, but I didn't have access to that because A, it was lockdown, and B, I was in Dubai and there was nobody kind of there that I knew of anyways who was doing stuff like that. Yeah. So I thought, if I can't learn from them, I'm going to have to learn how they choreograph. Yeah. Which I think really helps me in the long run, because I think what a lot of people don't realize about choreography is it's not just a thing that's oh, I can choreograph. You've got to watch people and learn from people.
Yeah, and practice as well.
Yeah.
Do it. I think what's really good is, from what I see of what you post online and just you as a person, is you're always just kind of thinking about it. You'll watch something and you'll hear some music and your brain just works. It's well, how do I choreograph this? And you're always just making. And I think that practice, the term practice makes perfect. Yeah. That practice is really good because it means that you're just getting used to it. Just comes naturally. Yeah. The thing with coming through a GCSE A-level route is I'd only do it for that one module of GCSEs, for that one module of A-levels. And I'd love to choreograph. I'd think it'd be really fun. And every now and then when the teacher is doing something, I come out with something good and it's oh, well done. But it's every now and then. It's in small amounts. But it always gives me that spark of being oh, I could do this. Yeah. I'm not in a place where I am actively doing it enough. which is why I'm quite envious that like your mind works just like, oh, this could be that, this could be that, and like you're constantly creating, which I think is really cool.
To be fair though, it's like constantly though for me, because I'm so obsessed with choreography that I like you said, I literally never stop choreographing. Like we were literally in the kitchen the other night and I was like, oh, I've like imagined this duet in my head where this could happen and this could happen, and I fully explained it to one of my flatmates who just came in, and he was like, that's so cool, have you tried it with anyone yet? And I'm like, no, it's in my head, but it'll come out eventually when I
the good thing at being at Bird is after our long days you can book studios, but also like in breaks and lunches, like we're surrounded by so many people,
so many talented people, which
very
is
talented people, to just work on things, and like, you know, we're going to have a lot of opportunities, which I think is really exciting. You'd mentioned slightly earlier about not having access to kind of go to these classes because you were from Dubai. What's amazing being here is that the students who seem to have enough energy after our long days have gone into London and attended like bass classes and stuff, and have like worked with choreographers, and I'm like, I would love to do that. Just give me a couple more weeks to kind of like
give it a few
get
weeks,
into the flow of things. And I think it's really impressive that these people can do the days that we're doing and just be like, yeah, I'm just going to go to London and do a bass class. It's just different breed of people, but I respect it. And it's really good that we now have that access to do things like that.
I mean, I think it's so cool as well, because especially being in London, you've got so many different choreographers, especially if you're into your choreography, so many different choreographers that you can learn from. Like the amount of times I've gone up to choreographers and just like chatted about what they do, or like, because every choreographer I've ever met, their mind works differently. So like their process, like I've met some choreographers who are like, oh no, I'm all about like the movement needs to look pretty and flows. Other choreographers are like, no, technique. And other ones are like, I'm just trying to tell a story. Like this is my idea. So I think it varies like depending where you go. But I mean, that's how I learned. So.
On the topic of technique we just mentioned, are there different choreographic techniques that like you're aware of and maybe have worked with that you've tried out, like different styles or ways of approaching choreography? Because there's got to be tons.
There are
like different methods as well. I mean, kind of what ones have you done yourself that you're like, oh, this was cool, I'd recommend this. Like if we were to have like 5 tips around choreography. 5 top tips that you wish you'd known sooner. Kind of what would they be? Like that things that you'd gone, oh, that was when you learned it was like a wow moment that was like, oh, I wish I'd been doing that earlier. Yeah.
Well, like I said, watching people for me, because I'm a visual learner as well. So just watching what other people do helped me a lot, because then when it came down to creating my own pieces and choreographing bits and bobs, I thought like, oh, someone did this thing where they faced the back, so how could I take that move and make it my own? So like learning from that, and then eventually you start kind of developing your own style. I'm fortunate enough to have like my preferred style of choreographing, but then when I was younger, I would say learn from somebody as well, because the way that I got into my choreographing, gosh, big word.
It's right.
Choreographing. Is that I actually had a teacher come to me, and he was so kind as to mentor me in a way.
Nice.
So I learned from him. Like he'd bring me on and like use me to like demonstrate things, or he'd like get me to teach his combinations, or sometimes he'd go, what are your ideas for this? Give me your ideas.
I think that's really important. The question of what are your ideas from a teacher to a class or to a student. It can just bring such a breadth of views and information, and so much can be taken from that. And I've worked with peak choreographers who do that quite frequently, and it's always really nice because a class of like 20 people, they all have their own like ways of thinking about things, and if you put them together, it can create some of the most visually entertaining, outstanding pieces than just like one choreographer who's like, I'm working on my own, here's my vision. It's like, you've had 20 years of experience, however you could get 20 different minds of like experience and create, and that kind of works not better, but they work well in their own ways.
So I was gonna say, I think it's very much like an opinion thing, because some choreographers, I think it depends how the choreographer wants to work. Sometimes it's like, no, this is what we need to do, and it works that way. Whereas also I've worked with other choreographers who were like, no, I want us to create the piece together. And I think it really depends on the style, depends how much time you've got, depends on the choreographer's vision, like depends on all those things. But I would say definitely like talk to people, learn from things, watch things. Like That's what I did. And
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I found helped the most.
On the note of collaboration, which is where what I was just saying about like how having the man himself, he's back.
He's back.
I mentioned about how for choreographing, sometimes it's good for have one person as a lead. And I think I think what it was about how using a big group of people, a challenge that can come from that is then who actually takes like the decision to be like, all right, let's move on. Because with so many ideas coming in. So what works really well is when the choreographer, and it's like they have the named role, asks the dancers for different ideas and then they pick. What can be hard.
Like collaborative with one head.
Yeah, totally. But then when it's like you're collaborating and there's like 4 different heads, it's like, whose do we use? What do we use?
Yeah.
It's always good to have like someone appointed to like make the final decision.
Yeah.
Because very frequently people get stuck because they can't make the final decision because there's so many of them. So that's a little thing that from my limited experience, but that's what I run into.
Yeah.
I like this mug.
Yeah, thank you. It's my mug.
Spotify listeners, you need to come onto YouTube and then you can see the very cool pink love heart mug.
Thank you.
So
From my grandma, so she'd appreciate that.
Oh yeah, you can send her this podcast to listen to.
I'm going to send her this podcast. She's going to love it, honestly.
So any more like choreographic kind of techniques or ways of starting, maybe initial, like how to get some like stimulus or anything? Any of that?
Well, I mean, I feel like the most common one people say is improv, but personally, I'm not very good at improv. I mean, I can do it, and but I don't particularly enjoy it. Like, obviously, it depends on the style. Like, if it's contemporary, I can improv all day long.
Oh yeah,
Or if
for
it's
sure.
like ISTG jazz, I can go all day long. But like for
Not so much.
choreographing, for choreographing stuff that's like, I don't know, like more commercially based, or more stuff that's like contemporary fusion, which is my preferred style, kind of like Sean Liu. Or another choreographer I really like is a guy called Josh Baker, and he was actually the reason I ended up at Bird College.
Wow.
Because I saw his choreography. This was like just after lockdown when I was deciding where I was going to audition.
Yeah.
Oh my god, he's incredible. Ex-Birdie as well.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's very cool.
So I was looking for where to audition and how I picked where I was going to audition, because even though I am very much musical theatre, I do dancing, singing and acting very equally. Choreography, obviously, as someone who is a choreographer stroke aspiring choreographer, was a big deal to me. So I watched a lot of Move It. I watched a lot of Move It. Move It's also a great place to go if you can to be inspired by choreography.
Yeah, I hadn't heard about it until last year.
Really?
Yeah.
I used
But
to
it's
watch
so
it,
cool.
yeah.
The things I've been watching, incredible. We actually, someone in this room have you been in Move It?
I haven't. I couldn't audition last year because I was PPFY.
I see. But we have had someone in this room who was in Movement,
We have.
which is
She sat on the floor.
come on the podcast, huh? Come on the podcast. Talk about
You need to
Movement.
get Ronnie on. Honestly.
Yeah, I need to do a better job at convincing some people. I think this is another cry for help. Come on the podcast if you're interested, guys.
It's just, you need to not be desperate.
I'm not desperate. I'm affirmative and sure. It's just a little bit that I do every now and then. It's not necessarily begging people to subscribe. It's telling them to.
No, I know.
Because they should. So yeah, Move It is really cool.
Yeah.
Because it's like this big convention in a warehouse.
It was is it XL London last year?
Like a big...
I think
I mean, like loads of
XL.
different stages.
O2. I wouldn't know. I just watched the map and showed up.
Damn. Yeah. So,
Ronnie can tell you the specifics about that because I don't want to get it wrong.
but the clips that you see online are like, there's these big groups and they do the most amazing things in different styles. Which is an important thing actually, is the training in different styles can really impact like the way you choreograph. So I've come into Bird as a pure contemporary dancer. Like that's my thing, with like gymnastic influence, but gymnastics isn't dance.
The man can flip, essentially.
Essentially, yes. So yeah, I've come in as a pure contemporary dancer. So when I choreograph and when I improvise, it's contemporary. It's like how my mind works. It's usually a bit slower. It's using the floor, moving in and out.
Yeah.
However, for the audition and in lots of our classes, it's like commercial or jazz. And we're like, now you've got like 4/8 to improvise and add your own thing on. And it's like, with the music that's playing and the improv that I'm used to, they don't match up. And so now I'm having to like give so much face and character, but I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I'm just doing something big and
something's going.
expressive.
You're moving. That's what I say. Just keep moving.
But I think training in different styles, which is what you do
Really
on a
helps.
musical theatre course, especially one that like focuses in on the dance, will then really like make your choreography so much more like rich, because it gives you so much more that you can pull from. So hopefully by the end of the 3 years, when I improvise or when I try and choreograph, it won't just be like floor work, flying low technique.
Drop to the floor.
It'll be a little bit more that I can...
A little bit more diverse.
Diversity that I can play around with. And actually...
Or eclectic.
When I think about trying to create things, like in my heart, like the fire that I have is this like fast kind of big pace. And it never seemed to work with the contemporary that I was doing, especially my A-level choreography. But now when I think about it, if I'd had like commercial training, like with the idea that I had, it would have worked so much better. I just didn't know how to dance in a commercial way.
I actually think that's another common misconception, because you mentioned fast. That's something I had to learn. Like, I thought that for choreography to be good, it had to be hard and it had to be fast.
Right.
That's what I thought, and I had to unlearn that so quickly. And like I said, I had this one teacher who taught me, who basically like drilled that in me. He was like, your choreography is great, but it's so fast, sometimes you cannot even see what you're doing. So he'd help me, and he'd like slow bits down or like take certain moves out, and it would look so much better. And it makes so much more sense now, because at the time I was like, I'm going to do this, bam, bam, bam. And then looking back at the old videos, I'm like, you can't even see what I'm doing or the shapes I'm making.
Yeah, so you're the complete opposite then to me. Is like, I want to be able to choreograph faster and dance faster as well.
But that comes with experience as
well. Comes with time, comes with experience, comes with the 3 years of training that we're going to do
and
here.
Exposure to choreography like that.
Yeah, I also think I need to go and watch more stuff. I mean, we are right on the doorstep of London.
We are. 15 minutes, that's all it is.
And I'm actually watching my first show tomorrow.
So excited.
Since coming here. And now some people have gone to a bunch already. But yeah, this hopefully is the first of many, because I want to go watch a lot more. Even like dance things. I think there's a workshop coming up, isn't there?
There is.
And there's an option for like a hip hop class. And I love hip hop. I can't do it. I taught myself.
Never say you can't.
I currently...
We learned about mindset the other day.
Yeah,
Josh,
what was the
mindset?
It was about growth mindset, fixed mindset. We realised that I have a fixed mindset and I need to change it to a growth mindset. My body currently doesn't know how to do hip hop.
That's better.
But I want to learn how to. And I've like self-taught myself things that like I see, but there's a workshop coming up and there's an option to do hip hop, and there's like whacking and other things, isn't there? But that's really exciting, and that Bird promoted that, and I'm definitely going to go along, just give it a try. And then we get to like watch, are we watching like professionals dance battle?
Yeah,
I've never seen an in-person dance battle,
so
but I've watched
Ollie picked up and gone, what?
I've watched so many clips online of like dance battles, and they are so cool. They are so cool, and I really want to be like in one of those videos that are posted, and I'm just sat there about like, this is sick.
It's like when you go to base, and if you get picked out, because at base a lot of choreographers film their classes, but they'll pick out like 4 or 5 people at the end to film, and then if you get picked, you're like, oh, Andy's dying.
No, all good.
Well, I was going to say something else then. I was going to say about, you know how you said like, oh, hip hop doesn't feel like right in your body yet. There's actually a science to that.
Really?
So basically,
this is the Movement Theories podcast. We're getting some
fact for you all.
Some science in here.
So I'm going to completely and absolutely butcher the explanation of this right now.
But it's okay.
But so basically, whenever you learn something new, I think it's neurons. I could be wrong, but essentially your brain makes a connection. Just had a thumbs up from Ollie. Your brain makes a connection. So with everything you learn, your brain makes a connection. So that's how come a lot of people are like, oh, I can't dance. Or some people are like, I've had to train for years to learn how to do that. Because it's just your brain hasn't made the connection yet. So the more you do it, the more likely you are to form that connection. But that's also why people form really bad habits. When it comes to like, I know that I had a load of bad habits when it came to ballet, especially. Just because it was stuff that I'd done constantly. So I'd formed a connection that I didn't actually need. So it took a lot of time to kind of unpick that and then relearn.
Is to think
so
the
it's
whole
science.
the whole thing with the Bird College training, and probably most courses this, I would guess, is that your first kind of month, 2 months, they go back down to the beginning to make sure that you're doing things complete like correctly, because everyone have picked up bad habits and they want to find those bad habits and make sure that they're right. I have been doing ballet for quite a few years. I got put into ballet support with people who just never done ballet before. And it took me a while to realise I've probably just got a few habits that they just want to see me for a couple lessons and make sure that they like kind of unpick and correct.
Yeah.
It's quite an intimidating thing coming into a new environment like this, never having done a dance style before. And it's like, oh, world champion. Oh, this and that.
But it's also so good because you haven't formed those habits yet. Mm-hmm. So you get to learn it from the base up.
Yeah. So who knows? Like, I might end up being better than the world champion because the world champion might have a few bad habits that I just won't have.
Can I suggest a dance battle at the end of the year?
End of the 3 years.
Just like, me longer.
Can we like push this back a little bit further? Maybe a couple years after graduation, you know, when I can really kind of like get into it.
When you're on like a tour somewhere and Ron Lee's like in 42nd Street.
Yeah, then we'll kind of come together. It'll be like a special YouTube episode and it's just like tap battling or dance battling my friends from Bird.
Uni.
That's actually, I might write that down.
Oh, here we go.
I might write that down. That's quite cool actually. Yeah, just you wait. Yeah. I'm coming for you. I'm going to be so good. Actually, I think the tap teacher at Bird started when he came to Bird. Yeah, and he's now teaching it. So it's possible. All these things are possible. Let's rewind back to choreography. Yes. Because like that's the...
Got sidetracked.
Yeah, that's the important thing. I'm trying to think of...
What were we talking about? We were mid-conversation.
Yeah, this happens a lot. This podcast, if you're watching and you're like, oh, they're so unprofessional, it's very conversational. We don't want it to be like...
I mean, we're sat in our kitchen, let's be honest.
Exactly. We're 18, 19, you know, no stress. So, yeah, we're not worried. And if you're worried, then... yeah. I'm trying to have a think about, what I was asking you. I've got a little thing written down here about how different dance styles require different choreographic approaches.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I can only speak on the dance styles that I consider myself...
Well, of course, yes.
I don't want to say an expert, but semi-expert. Like, I'm experienced within them.
Which dance styles are they, firstly?
Well, I don't want to ever say that I've, like, good at something because everybody has a different opinion. But the things that I've done a lot of ballet, quite a bit of tap, quite a bit of modern, especially like modern jazz.
So let's have a think. Contemporary as well, is that in there?
Contemporary's in there, street dance, commercial.
So let's have a think about commercial ballet contemporary.
Commercial ballet contemporary. Yeah. So I feel like ballet has I've never met a ballet choreographer. There could be someone out there that isn't very like systematic with like, this is going to be your... Also, like, it depends what you're choreographing and like what kind of... ballet, because obviously you've got people like Matthew Bourne who kind of, you have the technique, but it also takes some like creativity. It's like sometimes you can look at it like, you know, it's ballet, but also you don't look at it and go, ballerinas. You know what I mean? I
think with ballet, like everything has names, and everything is you could literally choreograph a piece. I wonder if someone's done this. Choreograph a piece where you just write down the names of everything, hand that sheet.
Everything has a name. Yeah.
So like write down like Tonju to Jeté to blah 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 blah, and write down like a whole like paragraph or page, hand it to a dancer, give them 5 minutes, and then make them dance.
But when is
that something you've seen before, or is that
that's a very common thing, Josh.
That's cool though, isn't it? Like,
so when you're doing, we used to call it so it's like the RAD book that you get given, you know, for ballet. And when teachers are teaching it, they have videos that obviously you can watch to teach it to the vid. Did you not have videos? Oh, we had videos that the teachers could reference to teach us. But a lot of the time you get given like a big book and it's basically just like you said, it's written down like on 1, 2, 3, 4, you're going to like plie or demi-plie, and it goes through the whole thing. But then I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure there's also, I cannot remember like the name of it for the life of me, but there's something that looks like sheet music, but it's actually telling you how to dance.
Do you guys know what that is? Sheet music that tells you how to dance.
It's like an ISTD thing. I'm pretty sure. I could be wrong. I've seen it somewhere. It's like sheet music, but it's actually telling you choreography.
Yeah.
Like a syllabus.
Yeah. You've seen it, right? Yeah.
I've just realised how intimidated I probably should be, because the people who are currently watching, we've got... Do you want to quickly say your names? Go on, give yourselves the credit.
Or shall I introduce them?
Introduce them real quick.
So we've got Ronnalee. She was a tap attacker, and she's also tap champion. Specifically, I cannot remember off the top of my head. She's a really good
Very good tap dancer,
She's
yeah.
insane.
Other styles, I'm sure you do, right?
I
Commercial,
went to a ballet school for a bit.
ballet school.
She's also, we were doing ballet in the kitchen the other night and I was just sat here like, oh my God, I live with actual ballerinas.
Yeah. Right, let's move on by
We
one.
have Aaliyah. What else have you done, Aaliyah? Because I know that she's like RAD trained, ISTD trained.
I did Janet Cram.
You did what?
I did
Ron Lee seems surprised by
I
that.
did Janet Cram finals twice, and we did it together because I saw in your bio. that
Which is
you
a
did.
big deal, by the way.
So what is what is that?
You can explain it better than I can.
What, Janet Cram?
Yeah.
What is Janet Cram? It's basically like
No, I can repeat what you say. So Janet Cram,
it's basically like
a dance competition.
competition.
Right.
First of all, you do heats.
Yeah.
In which you do it with like local people in
Yeah.
Yeah.
like your
So Janet, this won't be picked up by the mics, so I'll just kind of repeat. So you've done a dance competition that you start locally, and then like you get through the different heats before you get to like nationals.
Yeah.
Is that right? And so you both were in the finals together for that.
Yes.
And what style is this for? Modern.
For modern.
Yeah. What's your main dance kind of style that you're most
Oh, she
comfortable
can
with?
do everything. Like, if you live
All-rounded.
with her, you should see some of the stuff that, like, both of them pull out.
So we've got
Like, honestly.
ballet trained, tap champion, modern kind of jazz, very good at everything. And then
We're at Bird College. Everybody's
I
good
know,
at everything.
but it's just so cool that I'm just sat like right here, and it's like I have the most incredible
don't
people
forget
around
about
me.
Ollie. Ollie's
I was,
behind the
I was about to
camera.
move on. And then cameraman number 3
It's Ollie. Oliver.
is Ollie, who is also from Dubai.
Yeah, do you know what we found out actually?
What?
We found out that because we were both in Dubai at the same time at one point,
Mm-hmm.
and Ollie was actually at the same school as me, a year below, and we never met.
Very
Damn.
briefly, yeah.
Very
That's
briefly.
cool. Yeah. So dance styles. I know you're big on your ballet.
Ballet's the one that I've picked up the latest, but I do really love ballet.
Yeah.
But for me, the longest I've been doing is like modern tap,
Modern tap,
hip hop and commercial.
hip hop commercial.
So I've been
Nice.
doing those for about
Yeah.
six and a half years.
And was that mostly in Dubai? And then when you went to Scottish borders, it was
No.
all of that was in Scotland.
all in Scotland,
Yeah.
right?
Sorry, I'm answering for it. Like, no.
Yeah, no, it's fine. Well, no, we need
Just
to.
thinking
'cause
I'm close
can
to the
hear.
mic,
But that's
so-
really cool. That I'm just.
Yeah.
It's so surreal because in Exmouth, like the most impressive person that was like around you. I can't even think like who would it be. Like there weren't people around you, but you're like, whoa, you've done this and this. It's like,
Yeah.
whoa, you do drugs like everyone else. That's crazy. Do you know what I mean? Like there isn't that. Whereas now it's like, sorry, is that really fun? No, it's fine. But now I'm like sat in the kitchen and it's like the most incredible people. And I've just realised I'm on a podcast talking about dance. And I'm being like reviewed. I'm being like, they're gonna like write down their notes, being like, Josh said this.
Yeah.
It's just quite, it's intimidating. But it's really nice because like we
Yeah.
all learn off of each other. Yeah. And then like for me, contemporary gymnastics is my thing. And for you, you're big on
Everything.
all round.
I love everything. If I can move, I'm happy.
You had a question
Yeah.
earlier?
She had a question.
Oh, no, it was you. Yeah, it was you.
Really good question.
At the very beginning.
It was like, oh my god, what was it? It was like choreographers that didn't make it big or whatever. Oh, are there better little choreographers that deserve more attention?
Okay, so I'm going to repeat this question. Are there better, smaller choreographers who deserve more attention? Which is, yeah. And it goes, I think that goes for so many things where it's like hidden artists
Yeah.
who are so good, but they just haven't gone mainstream.
But I think that happens with so many people in the performing arts as well. But I can't think of anyone off the top of my head because to me, any choreographer that I see, I don't know if they're. But obviously, you can tell like some people are big. Like if you like,
Yeah, if it's on social media, you can also
But,
go like,
yeah.
oh, they're big, they're small,
Yeah,
blah blah.
but
But it
there's-
doesn't mean anything
yeah.
because like what you've got to think about is like their ability.
Yeah.
Are there any choreographers that you guys kind of know who are quite low key, small time, but who are
Yeah.
crazy?
I mean, to be fair, I just think anybody that I get to work with, I'm always so in awe of anybody who is in this industry because everybody's got such a different like flavor and brings something so different to the table.
I've actually got an answer to that. So these big choreographers that we think of are the ones who are doing all these jobs and who are all, really crazy, all this money, this big following. People who are underrated are teachers. Like, they are so good at what they do. I mean, even locally, like back in Exmouth. It was a collective called the Chire Collective, and they have a youth program, and the choreographer for that is outstanding. But the work they do is like, it's for like the school I went to, and it's like, and they have their own adult company. But I'm like, I want to be seeing like her as the guest artistic director for National Youth Dance Company.
So
like,
I didn't mean to take away from what you were doing then. I was just trying to ask for some water because you took all mine.
Yeah. It's true, I did. Yeah, can we get a refill over?
I'm so sorry.
Just water, right?
That's easy to do.
Just Josh over mine. Cambridge just drank all of it.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Talking like this, it drives my throat up. But no, a general answer to that question, I'd say like teachers in general. Like I know
teachers are incredible.
I know I've done lots of work in the industry, but like they are so incredible, and I'm always
so important.
Yeah.
So important to the industry.
Some of the most important people.
Teachers.
Yeah.
Where would we be?
Is there anything else or more that should be discussed? We've got on quite well with this, but
we have. I mean, I kind of had a thing that I was like saying about what's it called, about Move It, but I feel like it's kind of irrelevant now because
no, that's fine.
So far.
Yeah, so back just like I think maybe like a roundup with choreography.
Roundup. Don't be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid of it. That's good.
Sorry, I cut you off there.
There's also, I think, for me, I like just having, because choreography can be scary, and I've done little bits, but having just starting blocks, starting ideas of where you're going to get this movement from.
Yeah.
It's always good to find a stimulus. You're going to choreograph maybe about this emotion. You're going to choreograph with this in mind. That's always important.
Stories help.
Yeah.
Even if it's just a street dance.
Yeah. Having.
Like, which, you know, typically, like, obviously, I feel like all dance should have a story. But if it was just something that was like, you just want to dance for the sake of dancing, then have a story in mind because it really helps.
Yeah. But yeah, I think a big question is about like sourcing movement. Where do we get it from? If you can improv, for things that I've done, like the Bird audition, we had to like, well, I don't know if we had to create a piece. Lots of people, I think, learn a dance piece.
Yeah, some
performed.
people
I just created one.
Some people learn, but that goes for a lot of performing arts schools actually. But it's just an opportunity to show.
But the way I sourced the movement for that was I stuck some music on that I liked, that I was like, that fired me up, and I just danced around and improvised. And I recorded it, and then I went back and I watched. And went, that was good. Didn't like that. Oh, I like that. That could have been made better. And I reviewed myself like you would as like a on a panel or a dance review. I panelled myself.
Yeah.
I gave myself my own feedback, and then from there kind of moved on. A lot of people have techniques. Have you heard like the box technique, where it's like you're in a box and you've got all the corners of the box?
Oh yes,
and
I've heard of that.
You've got to pick like 6 corners and you move from one corner to the other, and it basically just gets you moving outside of your own body. Trying to like expand, and that can be really handy.
There's a circle one as well.
Oh, using the different areas of the circle.
People like do like make a continuous shape. Like there are so many prompts you can find online, which is like
tons.
Continuously make circles. Or for me, that works for a lot of people, but for me, improvising isn't something that I produce my best work with. So I find it really much easier just to stand and go. I choreograph by musicality 90% of the time. So just listen to your music. Like you will hear things in it, and I think that's why I love choreographers like Sean Liu and Josh Baker so much, because you hear slight things in the background. It might just be like, I don't know, a little shake or something, and they'll do something like this with their hands, and it draws attention to that. Yeah. So just listen to your music. Your music is telling you what you need to do.
Yeah, music is so important, and often it like when you're like training, doing your GCSE levels, it like can be left to the last minute. And I've fallen into this trap myself loads of times. I say loads of times. I mean, my A-level one, I just started late because I was doing tiny little story here. I was doing all of my auditions over Christmas, and people were like starting their choreographies and planning them out during this time, and I was like, no, I'm going to ignore it. So then I started in January, and everyone had already like picked dancers, they'd already got their ideas, they'd already planned everything out.
Yeah.
I hadn't even started yet, and I then freaked out, and I went, okay, can I use you and you? And I ended up being in a position where half of my dancers could do the beginning of the week, the other half would do the end. And so I taught this choreography in like halves, and then like the last 3 rehearsals before the show and then our exam after the show, I like stuck it together. It was all right, but it wasn't my best work. I mean, I haven't done much work, but I would like to in the future. And I think it's being brave, taking risks,
Yeah, don't be afraid to mess up.
Yeah,
Nobody gets it right first time. You should see, like, now I'm so proud of the work I've created. But if I look back to some of my first dance videos, which I will probably show you later, or some of the first things I choreographed, I look at them and I go, oh my goodness, what was I thinking?
Yeah.
But you just raised another point that I thought of. Sorry,
that's fine.
I've been here for ages.
That's cool.
But you talked about choreographing for other people. Like, I've mainly been thinking about how I choreograph for myself.
Yeah.
When it comes to choreographing for other people, that's a whole other ball game, because it's all right to do something and look at yourself in the mirror and go, yeah, that looks sick. Cool. I'll do that. But choreographing for a group of people, especially when you've got people who are of like either mixed experience or mixed styles, you've got to work with them, like figuring out what works and looks good on them.
Yeah.
Because the amount of times, like when I first started to learn how to be a choreographer, like I said, I'd bring in this really fast stuff and everyone would look at me and go, what did you just do? So that's something I had to learn really early on, is that you simplify. If someone can't do something or something doesn't look good, it's not their fault. It's your fault as a choreographer. Yeah. So you've got to find what looks good together. Yeah.
I'm going to end this on a note for you to, as an audience, to consider, which is about choreography, but using AI. Now we're going into the future and the world's getting so complicated. Have a little think, just as yourself, and we'll finish the episode here, about how AI could come in and not replace, but like influence how choreography is done, how different techniques will work. So that's ChatGPT. This might be mentioned in another episode. Our thoughts might be mentioned in another episode. But for yourself, as a ending note, have a little think about that. And I think we're going to wrap up there.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for coming on. This has been the Movement Theories podcast. I'm Josh. This is Ellie B. And, well, we'll see you next week. All right. Goodbye.